Digest knows that most people love to read excerpts or summaries of all types from topics found in fiction as well as nonfiction. And before readers can read, writers must write. That's the reason why Reader's Digest is sponsoring this podcast. Its title is A Reader's Digest Introduction to Writing Fantasy or Historical Novel Series. And I am pleased that Reader's Digest editors selected me to make it. So let's begin. And I'll start with a verse found in a poem explaining why just about everyone loves to hear a good story. We are storytellers in our soul, heralding what the world should be, laced with fear and ecstasy, perfect paradigms to extol. Well, archaeologists have concluded that ever since prehistoric times, people would gather around campfires, today think TV and computer screens, to hear what others could tell them, either for survival or for entertainment. And the best storytellers dramatize the words to make the messages stick. Our 21st century readers and writers continue this time-honored tradition. Current trends in fiction show that readers love historical fiction series dramatization. For example, Ken Follett's Pillars of the Earth or George Martin's Game of Thrones and House of Dragons. They also love fantasy series like Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. Hollywood screenwriters know this too. Just consider Star Wars and Terminator series. And all of the writing starts inside the head of the person holding the pen, or more likely, today anyway, sitting in front of the keyboard. Writers of books or screenplays have to be smart and possess the talent of putting words together in a clever manner that readers like. Most writers have a breadth and depth gained from college degrees plus real-world experience. Some earn a Master of Fine Arts degree that gives them both a credential plus writing craft skills. But thanks to the internet and online learning, MFA's craft can be learned via writing coaches, seminars, and self-study. And always remember that talent in any field cannot be taught. Think of writing talent as a person's potential energy that awaits being turned into kinetic words on a page. And that's what the skill or craft of writing can do. With that now said, where should writers begin when creating historical or fantasy series? Well, they should avoid the old mantra of write what you know and instead follow the new. Write what you are interested in. Simply pick a topic that fascinates and research it well enough to get started. Before the internet came into being, research required many trips to libraries for laborious searches through catalog indexes and shelves to find enough background information. But thanks to the internet and websites dedicated to information storage and retrieval, research can be compressed to days rather than weeks or months. Writers can collect enough information and then do a syntactical synthesis to construct enough to get started. So at this point, writers have both the topic and the commercial genre, historical fiction or fantasy, and certainly enough information to begin writing, right? Not quite. They must pick a commercial genre for classifying where the book fits in a bookstore, marketing campaign, or the protagonist's external arc, and the writer must also pick a genre for the internal arc too. Once they've done all the above, they then must determine what type of writer they are, a pantser or a planner. The names are self-explanatory, and I won't belabor the point. But here's something that most writers, even planners, might not realize. Every book or series is a one-of-a-kind project, and project management is taught in business schools and operations research courses. So pantsers and planners alike should use this basic project planning tool. Build a task list that can be input into a project planning software package like Microsoft Project, and let it produce a Gantt chart showing what tasks should be done, starting when and ending when, and what are the preceding and succeeding dependent tasks. Here's one obvious task list entry: front and back cover design. And here's another: book launch marketing campaign. Unsuccessful writers don't like doing all this grunt work, but it must be done, and it should be done sooner rather than later. Smart writers do just enough to get organized so they can start writing. This is where the actual joy of writing a book or a series begins. And no matter the type of writer, they must brainstorm to come up with the two basic components of any book or series. Characters. Think character-driven literary fiction that delves into the problems caused by the human condition. And storyline. Think plot-driven, mainstream, popular fiction that emphasizes action. Once that's done, and please remember that writers can always change their choices when getting to the editing step. Well, once that's done, they should develop a theme. That's the overarching message in the storyline. Thesis or premise or point. That's the specific details of the message given the context or setting. And the character point of view, that's POV, and dialogue style. And like I said, writers must decide if they are a pantser or a planner. Let me list the pros and cons of each. For pantsers, here are the pros: discovery, excitement, surprise, new ideas, emotion-driven characters. Here are the cons: fluff, no clear destination, dead ends, too many words. For planners, here are the pros: roadmap, clear destination, no extra words. And the cons: boredom, too confining, frustrated when characters go off script. Well, now that they've done this much, pantsers will begin writing, but planners will develop the structure for the first novel. And writers should probably follow the 3-act W pattern structure. First act totals 25% of word and page count. The second, divided into 2A and 2B, totals another 50%. And the third accounts for the remaining 25%. Then writers use the hero's journey or similar template for placing plot and turning point scenes along the W. Planners then write a 3-page maximum outline that summarizes each scene. Why do this? Because it helps keep track of the plot's flow. And regarding flow, writers must keep track of pacing. Too slow bores and too fast exhausts readers and audiences alike. Plus a continuous buildup of suspense and tension. Readers like pacing that repeatedly goes up and down. Pantsers and planners know that they write their story from the inside out, which means at the scene level of detail. A set of chronological scenes grouped together makes a chapter, and the collection of chapters makes the book. A scene is the smallest unit of writing, often called beat, and each scene should contain these elements: a scene setting, a goal, an inciting incident, complications leading to turning point, crisis, climax, resolution, character change, and segue to the next scene. And now, finally, the planner begins writing. Planners should know that all the details just covered are meant to be helpful guideline suggestions, not inflexible rules. And all writers know that they are a combination of pantsing and planning. Now they can write happily ever to the very end of the manuscript. Depending on where they sit on the pantser-planner axis, they can do some previous chapters editing along the way, but it's better to get to the end as soon as possible. Why? Well, they cannot edit what they haven't written. Once the first draft manuscript is finished, writers should take a break for a couple of weeks before entering the editing phase, for which there are 4 types of editing. Developmental editing, also known as storyline or content editing. Line editing, sentence structure plus grammar, semantics, and syntax editing is done here. Then copy editing. Comb out all typos, misspellings, and punctuation mistakes. And then critique editing. That's an overall assessment regarding how readers might like the storyline, characters, dialogue, and plot flow. Writers must do this with the eye of an editor, not that of a reader. Beginning writers should have objective editors, not mom or a significant other or best friend. Do the editing for them. Writers should consider people in their support group or find a group of beta readers. And depending on their level of confidence, beginning as well as experienced writers might want to hire a writing coach or professional editor. And now comes the payoff, sending the manuscript to a traditional agent. But consider this, more and more writers are choosing to self-publish because of the revolution in printing and publishing. Writers should search the internet for a list of reputable self-publishers and interview 3 or 4 or until finding the one to hire. They will then edit, print, and publish. They will also construct a book launch marketing campaign. And please remember, like most things people buy, they will get what they pay for. And that will end this podcast. There's much more I could say, and I imagine the Reader's Digest editors could too. But I don't want to exceed your listening time limit. So I'll say no more other than I hope you like what you heard, and I thank you for listening.